Welcome back to KRON4's special, Selma to Ferguson, What Has Changed? With themes of family and social justice, 94-year-old Bay Area artist Marie Johnson Calloway is recognized nationally for her many treasured pieces, some now featured at MOAD. She talked about her favorite artwork and her mindset as a marcher that fateful day in Selma.
None of us felt it was going to be such a historic event, but we knew it was something important that we wanted to participate in. And I worked in the kitchen helping to cook the food that the marchers used. And my husband then came. He was a physician, and he treated Martin Luther King's feet.
But were you on the bridge when the violence broke out?
Yes.
You were?
I was on that bridge.
And what happened?
Well, I think the media has shown what happened from their side, but so many things were happening within the community. We were all not only angry, but we had different levels of how we portrayed that anger.
You have a piece called Warning, which is about the harassment of African Americans many, many years ago.
And how angry they were. That was the beginning of uprising, and the Black Power movement came along right about that time.
And do you think that there's still some of that today?
I know there is, and I think there should be. I don't think we ever all forget the warning that comes with that piece.
For the young African Americans coming up today, whether they're artists or not, the world that you've seen in your 95 years, what's your advice for them?
Well, I would say, first of all, prepare yourself to be ready for whatever happens. And I think it's important for them to get educated, utilize all of the opportunities that there are, and use them to improve the general life of Black people.
Our next guest is a longtime civil rights leader. Reverend Jesse Jackson worked with Dr. Martin Luther King in the early days of the civil rights movement and has continued as a national and international leader for civil rights, human rights, and social justice. He reflects on Ferguson.
Of course, the film Selma has fortunately ratcheted up a lot of conversation about what happened in Selma 50 years ago on the bridge. The biggest movements which have erupted recently have surrounded Ferguson. And I'm wondering if you think there is a thread between Selma and Ferguson.
There's a sense that the criminal justice system has come down on blacks in a very hard way. We may be 55% of the prison population. Now the number of blacks who are in prison, often falsely, are on light crimes and have long sentences, lose the right to vote. So they make money off of jails for property and prison labor, make money off of that, and disenfranchise us at the same time. So now across the South, many of the states, the number of blacks who can no longer vote because they've been in prison affects the outcome of state elections, as a case in point. So we find ourselves now facing the awesome challenge of having to rethink who we are and not assume that we're freer than we are.
So you have made one of your more recent missions to diversify Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's like, I make the case that our struggle comes in stages. One, if the first stage was to end legal slavery, 246 years. The next stage was to end legal Jim Crow laws. The third stage is the right to vote. The fourth stage is access to capital and industry and technology and deal flow. The largest company 50 years ago was General Motors. It's now Apple. So when one looks at that valley, we over-index in purchasing product. And our capacity to work is beyond our being hired. So Silicon Valley takes on a certain center or a certain centrifugal force of today's global economy. Our young people must be trained early on in the science of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Early on, they must be given the opportunity to display their wares, to display their codes and the like.
How much has it mattered to have a black president?
It matters a lot. In terms of the symbolic meaning of us being able to go from log cabin to the White House, from the Bloody Bridge to the White House. That's a big journey. But the other part is the content of his work. He came in office, we had lost like 800,000 jobs that month. We would not have net loss of jobs in a month since he's been president. So many Americans are better off. The banks using subprime and predatory lending has driven people out of the middle class into poverty. They're still attacking him for reasons that make totally no sense. He has taken an awful lot of blows that he did not deserve to take. But the fact is he won twice, and because he won, we're better off as a nation. I think it lays the groundwork for a woman to be president, for a Latino to be president, because the more that we accept the growth of people as people, it has its own residual impact. It's like saying the more we even the playing rules, the better results we get. We didn't know how good baseball could be until everybody could play. And so sometimes we don't know how good our politics can be, or our economy can be until everybody can play.
What had happened to Eric Gardner, I mean, just the fact that this...
We talk with the new president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, London Breed, coming up next on Selma to Ferguson, What Has Changed?